From the far reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, it's Retro Nerd Girl with a film review for you. Today, I'll be reviewing the movie The Red Shoes, released in 1948, starring Moira Shearer, Anton Walbrook, and Marius Goring, directed by Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. The synopsis is Vicky Page, a young ballet dancer torn between the man that she loves and her pursuit to become a prima ballerina. The story. The film is an adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale The Red Shoes, first published on April 7th, 1845, as part of his collection of new fairy tales, the first volume, third collection. Andersen's story is loosely inspired by his personal life. His father was a shoemaker who was given a red silk piece of fabric by a wealthy woman to make dancing slippers for her daughter. He used some of his own red leather to fashion the shoes, only to have them rejected. Andersen contrived the red shoes about a girl tormented by her red dancing shoes that eventually destroys her. It's dark. As well, Andersen had a half sister, Karen Marie Andersen, whom he resented. He named the protagonist in the story Karen, imagining her moral downfall through obsession, temptation, vanity, and sin. The idea of turning the story into a film came in the 1930s by filmmaker Sir Alexander Korda, known for The Scarlet Pimpernel in 1935, Rembrandt in 1936, Elephant Boy in 1937, The Four Feathers in 1939, and The Third Man in 1949. Alexander Korda wanted to use the film as a vehicle for his future wife, the actress Merle Oberon. He lost interest in the project later and divorced Oberon in 1945. Then he eventually sold the rights in 1946 to co-writers Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger under Archer Films. After acquiring the rights, they revised the screenplay with a focus on casting an actual ballerina in the lead role. Hans Christian Andersen's tale is the ballet that surrounds the circumstances, but the enchanted shoes become a psychological symbol of obsession and possession and how it harms. Pacing at 2 hours and 14 minutes, it runs a little long, but the audience is never bored. The quieter moments increase the emotional bonds between the characters. The visuals are really doing much of the heavy lifting, along with punchy dialogue and fantastic artistic performances all around, deepening the emotional bond that I spoke of between the characters. So eventually, when everything fractures, oh, it breaks your heart. It really does. Now, the challenge. The main antagonist pulling the strings and the true source of the challenge in this film is Boris Lermontov, who demands total devotion to art. He requires his employees to have the same devotion for the art that he makes, especially his prima ballerinas. In a strange way, he considers them his possessions. We see this in the treatment of the troupe's principal dancer, Irina Boronskaya, who has gotten married. This sends Boris into a rage because he believes that a dancer of her caliber can have only one love, dancing, specifically for him. So one cannot have two masters in his eyes. This dedication he seeks, he sees in a brand new dancer, Vicky Page. Upon an arranged meeting by her rich aunt, he asks, "Why do you want to dance?" And she answers, "Why do you want to live?" Oh, I love this line so much. And you will understand why as I continue on with this review. This was the answer that he so desperately wanted to hear. In many ways, in that moment, he met his soulmate to mold into a star. And I do believe that she would do anything that he asked of her because she wanted to dance. That was her love. not so much to be a star. However, over the course of rehearsals, Boris never reveals his happiness or his pleasure to anyone, as much as people bend over backwards to try to please him. He's not a villain, but he performs harm to others in his cold, isolative poker face. No one is ever sure that he's happy, but they sure know when he's not. He ruins his relationship with Vicky by isolating her emotionally. She barely knows if he likes her performances, except for the fact that she's still dancing for him. And that's all that she can hope for any kind of affection or approval from him. But once she finds some moniker of happiness for herself, when she falls in love, he believes that she fails him. In his mind, her only happiness should come from dancing for him. Have I made it clear that it's all about him? I believe that Julius is also a secondary challenge because he understands exactly what dancing means to her. However, he is relentless in keeping her from it and forcing her to choose him or her dancing. She had no children, so there were really no ties keeping her from pursuing her career, while he was also still pursuing composing. I got the sense that he still wanted her to dance. He just didn't want her to dance for Boris anymore. The empathy. Vicky Page is a driven dancer at the highest level. And you kind of get the sense that her desire to be a star is so that way she can dance and perform her art. Not necessarily that she wants to see her name in lights and she wants the fame. She just wants to dance. And she loves it. She feels the music in her body. And it's so very primal for her. The art of dancing. It's something that she's just compelled to do. The approval of Boris is also her ticket to her dreams of being able to dance as much as she would like. She works extremely hard, so her talent as a dancer is dynamic and undeniable. But you sense that she yearns to hear that she's valued. This is something that Boris cannot show her. Whether it's his pride or principle, he's a stone-cold taskmaster with an unforgiving glare. So you can't tell if he's enjoying what he's watching or if he's upset, even as she's giving her best performance. When Irina leaves, she's hired as the lead ballerina in the Hans Christian Andersen The Red Shoes. Vicky and the composer Julian start dating. Because he has shown her tenderness and love and attention during her first show, it's her vision of Julian that guides her through the ballet. This is very interesting. First time that I saw the movie, I didn't realize what that meant. But technically, that should have been Boris that she was dancing for. No, she was dancing for Julian. He becomes her new motivation for dancing, not the stardom or what Boris can give her. She dances for him in those moments and even imagines that she dances for only him during the opening night. Once they marry, Boris fires them both. She watches and supports Julian's career, but she hasn't been so successful without Boris. Julian leaves to go to London to open his opera as Vicky goes to Cannes on vacation. Boris manages to meet up with her and convinces her to dance again in a special production of The Red Shoes. It really didn't take much convincing because I believe some passions never die, and within Vicky, she never stopped wanting to dance. The technical aspects. This film is a remarkable achievement in production craft that left me completely mesmerized. The first element to discuss is the vibrancy of the color. This was due to the beautiful use of Technicolor, which was in common use at the time. The coloring gives it a very vintage look, but also adds such a bright palette that dazzles. The production ran to approximately 24 weeks and went over budget. You can see the value in the visuals. The principal photography took place in London Pinewood Studios, Paris, Cannes, Monte Carlo. Just some of the most beautiful outdoor settings. The stage performances for the ballet, especially the ones that appear to look like dream sequences, were just beautifully crafted. It's absolutely gorgeous to watch. And they're using special camera tricks to help create the magic. It took 6 weeks to shoot the 15 to 17-minute ballet of the Red Shoes. Cinematically engaging, bold visuals, storytelling, props, and sets, along with amazing choreography, optical illusions, and clever editing. The audience watching the movie is transformed into the auditorium watching the stage swirl into a storm to manipulate its surroundings just to tell this haunting tale. It was a wonderful spectacle that earned the film its Academy Award for Best Art Direction. Composer Brian Esdale brilliantly wrote the original ballet score with Sir Thomas Beecham conducting the Royal Philharmonic, which earned the film its Academy Award for Best Original Score. The performances. The filmmakers decided that they would cast actual dancers who could act, rather than actors attempting to dance. And this really was an incredible choice, giving the intense focus on dance and its own feature in the film. And I would say that was one of the wisest choices done to create the spectacle of what we're seeing on screen. The film's lead chosen to play Vicky Page was Moira Shearer. She was a professional Scottish ballet dancer when she was approached for the role, and she happened to have red hair. Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger thought it was meant to be and pursued her for a year before she agreed with the blessings of her peers. Unfortunately, during the production, she suffered neck pain and an abscess from a scratch that required minor surgery. When you observe her dancing in this, it seems like the injuries weren't as much as you would think because her sheer dynamic athleticism throughout the entire production. She has so much energy and so much charisma as she dances. There is grace, there is a bold force, there is expertise, all in one incredible performance that still wows to this day. Her first time acting was as if she had been born for it. And maybe her work in this was really inspired by her real world drive and ambition to dance. I do believe destiny had a part to play in her landing this iconic role. She was indeed a standout. Anton Walbrook plays the stoic leader of the dance company, Boris Lermontov. Anton was an Austrian actor popular in Austria and pre-war Germany. He left Germany in 1936 and began a career. He gained some fame from starring in the movie Gaslight, released in the United States as Angel Street in 1940. He just so happened to be Pressburger's neighbor, and he and Powell cast him in a few other of their films. In the part of Lermontov, he embraces a type of loneliness that he took to heart, it seems, on and off camera. Perhaps it was method acting, but co-star Moira Shearer said that Walbrook often wore dark glasses on set in his character's costume and ate alone. On screen, he gave an earnest performance for a man who was driven by his own secret demons. Marius Goring, as Julian Craster, grounds the movie in something normal. We have all of this obsession around us, but then he's a beacon for our protagonist. Marius was also another ongoing collaborator with Pressburger and Powell. They were actually looking for a younger man to fill the part, but simply put, I thought he was great. Other professional dancers that should be acknowledged are, let's see if I can pronounce this right, Leonid Massanin, who served as choreographer for his part in playing the devilish shoemaker. Ludmila Turturina portrayed Irina Boronskaya, Sir Robert Helpman as Ivan Bolslawski, and also choreographed the central ballet sequence, as well as instrumental in recommending Shearer for Vicky. Outstanding work by them all. Enjoyment. The last 20 minutes of this movie is a whirlwind that kept me at the very edge of my seat. Throughout the movie, we see that Boris is possessive of Vicky. When Vicky marries, he loses her. But what you don't see is that Julian might be very well just as possessive of Vicky and knows that he can lose her under Boris's influence to become a big star. As I told you before, when he goes away to conduct his opera, Vicky goes on vacation and is wooed into dancing again with Boris. It sounds reasonable, right? What's the harm? Again, the point is that she loves the art of dance. She wants to dance again. Even simply put, she wants to dance and she wants to love Julian. Why can't she have both? And that is sort of what we think as an audience. We want her to have both, but she can't. So she can't have them both. Vicky is obsessed with dance. Boris is obsessed with the art that he believes that only Vicky can give him now. And Julian is obsessed with Vicky being only his. Vicky, torn between Julian and Boris, is finally claimed by the Red Shoes themselves, runs from the theater, and is fatally struck by a train. Julian removes the shoes at her dying request. The love of dance, represented in the red shoes, has been removed by the one that she loves, and now she can rest in peace. It's tragically poetic and in a very morbid way. It's unsettling, but often tragedies are. Since their bond, Vicky needs Julian's love in order to dance. Remember her debut performance. He was her anchor to get through it. Doing the show now without his love is like asking her at this point, why do you love Julian? And her response would be, why do you want to live? Her priorities have shifted and changed, but her obsessions have not. It's a devastating ending as the company plays the music Julian composed, and a spotlight follows the haunting ghost of where she might have danced for them that night. It's a true tragedy like its inspiration. The London premiere was July 22nd, 1948, and the reaction was lukewarm. In the US, however, the premiere took place on October 21st, 1948, at New York's Bayou Theater, and it became a huge hit. It was so popular with the art crowd that it continued to play at the Bayou for 2 years. This movie continues to inspire pop culture with movies like The Firebird, 1952, A Chorus Line, 1975, Broadway musical and adapted film in 1985, and Black Swan in 2010. It also inspired Kate Bush's 1993 album, The Red Shoes, and was used in the film The Line, the Cross, and the Curve in 1993. In 2013, Korean singer-songwriter IU released the single The Red Shoes, whose lyrics were inspired by the fairy tale and the film. In 1999, it was voted the 9th greatest British film of all time by the British Film Institute. In 2017, a poll of 150 actors, directors, writers, producers, and critics for Time Out magazine ranked it the 5th best British film ever. Brian De Palma, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, and Steven Spielberg are big fans of the film. Multiple pairs of the movie's shoes were made, and several are now held by the British Film Institute, including a pair from Martin Scorsese's personal collection. Roger Ebert included it in his list of great movies and said, the ending lands as a poignant meditation on art versus life, shocking yet thematically inevitable, prompting reflection on obsession, control, and the cost of artistic devotion. I couldn't have said it better. What always sticks with me is the iconic movie line, why do you want to dance? And the answer, why do you want to live? Why does that hit so hard? And what question would match the answer, why do you want to live, for you? I suppose for me, it would be, why do you want to be a creator? I am so haunted by the film's ending. It's a portrait of what it costs to love art, a place where dreams may soar. And sometimes the real world around you refuses to let you soar. Sometimes no one saves you. Sometimes you struggle alone and there's no lesson to learn. It's just the way it goes. And no one's wrong or right. And in many ways, it is actually real life. There's something real life about this movie that plays into the fantasy. Vicky says, why do you want to live as her answer and to why she wants to dance. So when it was clear that she couldn't dance because she loved Julian, she did the unthinkable. It breaks your heart. She warned us in the very beginning, didn't she? She really meant it. She says, why do you want to dance? Why do you want to live? She really did mean it. The tragedy isn't that Vicky made the wrong choice. It's that she couldn't make any choice at all without breaking her own heart. It's a relatable conflict that makes the story so timeless. Where are my tissues? My rating is an 8.9. That sums up my review. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. Share the video. Make sure you're subscribed for my next upload or live. And YouTube is so nice that they're going to suggest a video for you to watch. Please give it a watch. And remember to stay retro and stay nerdy. Bye.